I'm not into aliens. I don't know if this is an alien book, but I'm not into aliens. Oh god, I really don't know. Hello, today I'm back with kind of a TBR situation for March. I've said a bunch of times before that TBRs are not something that I enjoy setting myself. I'm very much a mood reader. I read what I want when I want, and like if I then don't if I don't finish the TBR, I end up feeling really bad, but like I don't fully enjoy a book if I feel like I'm forced to read it, so it's kind of just like a mix of things. I just prefer to mood read. But something that I've been wanting to do for a while is to get my boyfriend, who we have seen before on this channel. If you haven't, then there's a cool video I'll link that you can watch. I really wanted to do something where I get him to pick me a TBR, because the whole video that we did before was because he wanted me to read The Final Empire like ages and ages ago. Like we're talking nearly 3 years ago now, and I didn't, and he just, it's always like a thing where he's always like, I know what you like, and I'm like, okay, but like now's his chance to prove that he knows what I like. So I asked him to pick me up to 5 books for me to read. I'm not saying I will read them all in March, but I plan on reading them in the next however long, and then I'll wrap up when I eventually finish them. But I wanted to do a little video just talking about the books that he picked before I read them. He's not here right now, obviously, but I'm trying to get him to come in the wrap-up video to kind of talk about the books. So he picked me 5 books. None of them are books I own. He picked all books that I don't own but he owns. They're all books that he's read and he's enjoyed. He didn't pick books that he thinks I would necessarily like. I think he was going more for books that I would not have picked up on my own, which I think is even more interesting. I think that's more fun because, you know, like I said, I'm a mood reader, so I just read what I want to read. So if I'm pushing myself a little bit more to read something out of my comfort zone, that's always a good thing. So I have 5 books. They're all very outside my comfort zone. well, except for one. One of them I planned on reading anyway, but either way, here are the books that I will be reading. The first one is one that he picked that I was already going to read, and that is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. So when he gave me his list, he actually said either Best Served Cold or The Blade Itself, both of which I plan on reading because he really likes Joe Abercrombie's books. I see Joe Abercrombie's books a lot and I'm interested. I'm not sure they'll be my speed, but I'm willing to give it a go. So like I said, he gave me the choice of 2 books, and I think he said he thinks I will like Best Served Cold more, and that is a standalone. But because I kind of plan on reading the books anyway, he thought it was best to start with the First Law trilogy. So I'm going to be reading The Blade Itself. I don't really know anything about it other than it's a fantasy. It's I don't know. I think it's oh god, I really don't know. I honestly have no idea about any of the plot, to be honest with you. I don't know what kind of magic it has or anything like that, but I do think that they're quite, not necessarily dark, but maybe more dark humour and some, I think he said that he thinks I will be kind of sad at times, so that's always fun, but also not very difficult where I'm involved. So I'm excited to give it a go, see how that goes. I do like his tweets. I like him on Twitter, he's kind of funny. Alex always shows me his tweets and I think he's quite funny, so I think the humour might be more up my street, which I'm excited about. I like a funny book. But yeah, I think it is more of a dark, epic fantasy that will be interesting to try out. I have the synopsis up here, but I'm not going to read it all out. But the end does say, murderous conspiracies rise to the surface, old scores are ready to be settled, and the line between hero and villain is sharp enough to draw blood, which sounds great. Like, that sounds very interesting. So I'm quietly confident about this. Fingers crossed I am right in that. But yeah, that's the first book. The next book is, I feel like, quite divisive, and that is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is, I don't know how I'm going to feel about this book. If somehow you're unfamiliar with this book and you've never heard of it, it is a fantasy book. Again, more of like the epic high fantasy that daunts me slightly. But it's one I see a lot, and people either think it's the best thing on earth and just love it, or they absolutely hate it. The one thing that kind of annoys me about reading this is that it's part of a trilogy, but it doesn't seem like the third book is just ever going to happen, which I'm not a fan of. That annoys me. I've said on my channel before, I much prefer to start a series that's already finished, because I like to get everything done. I don't like waiting. But if I have to wait like an indeterminate amount of time, that's even worse. So we'll have to see how that goes, but I'm intrigued. Whereas with The Blade itself, I'm like quietly confident that I think I'll enjoy it. This one, I'm really just, it could go either way. I have absolutely no idea. I don't know. I think I've seen a lot of people talk about the writing style, and like a lot of, again, really divisive. People either really like the writing style or they really hate the writing style. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But again, I don't know too much about the plot. All I know is that I believe that the book is told from the perspective of the main character, like, but in kind of, I don't know if it's necessarily an unreliable narrator way, but kind of skews the perspective a little bit from what I've heard, where it's like this character is writing the story about themselves, so it's like, oh my god, they were really awesome and they were really cool, and like, you know, but like not necessarily how things actually played out, which, I don't know, could either be really annoying or it could be really fun, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait and see. It is a very popular book in the genre, and one that I think I added it to my want to read in like April last year, which is weird for me because I was not reading fantasy at that time, but clearly I was drawn in by the hype. But now's my chance to actually read it, and I really don't know how that's gonna go. But we'll have to wait and see. Next is another random one that I don't think I would ever pick up, mainly because I don't read sci-fi. We've been through this. I don't read sci-fi. I don't watch sci-fi. I'm not interested in sci-fi. But the next book Alex picked for me was The Martian by Andy Weir. This, I really don't think I'd ever pick this up. I don't think I'd ever watch the film of my own accord. It just does not seem like something that is up my street. It, yeah, I don't know if, I'm sure everyone's familiar with The Martian because the film was very popular, obviously the book is very famous too, but it tells the story of this guy and he gets stranded on Mars, and he has to kind of sustain himself on Mars until he can be rescued, and it's him, I think it's told in like a diary kind of way, maybe, that could be wrong, but I know it's his journey of trying to like survive for however long it takes to be rescued. So it's like him planning and like farming and like how can he adapt to this situation on his own with what he has, which is an interesting concept but not something that I would ever be like, oh my god, this sounds so interesting, I need to read it. But now that I'm being not forced to, but now that it's been put in this TBR, I am kind of excited to read it because I would never pick this up. But I could end up really enjoying it. I think apparently the humour is really good, so again, not sure how it's going to go. It's definitely out of my wheelhouse, but I'm excited. The fourth book is another fantasy, and that is Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. So Alex also has read a lot of Mark Lawrence's books in the past and enjoyed them. I've never read any of his books. Again, I think they're more of the kind of grim dark fantasy that I would never pick up. I think the theme here is I don't tend to read a lot of books written by men. That I've only, like, I just realised, I think, yeah, all of these books are written by men. I think like a large portion of the books I read are written by women. That's kind kind of interesting that I just noticed, just a side note, it doesn't mean anything, but just a side note, that I'm reading a lot more male authors now apparently. But yeah, Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. I'm not sure how I feel about this. I again don't know much about the plot. I just know there's kind of murderous nuns, I believe, I think, is the thing. I don't know, murderous nuns killing people for some reason. I don't know. I try to go into a lot of books blind anyway, and this is definitely an opportunity where I'm jumping in on that, because, like I said, these books, most of them, I never would have picked up. So, yeah, I don't know anything about the magic. I just know it's fantasy. I know it's dark. It's probably gonna be, like, I don't know, like, I haven't, since I've kind of jumped into fantasy, I haven't read that much of it, and, like, most of them I've read have been Sanderson books, which aren't particular, like, they're dark in a different way, I guess. They're not necessarily super violent for the most part. There are parts in which they are more violent, but I think the tone of these fantasies are probably going to be very different, and something I haven't read before. I don't know if I know anybody else who's read this at all. Oh wait, Katie has read it. Okay, so I have 2 friends on Goodreads, plus Alex, who have read this. Alex gave her a 4-star, Katie gave her a 4-star, and Karina gave it 2 stars. So that's interesting, kind of balance there to see which side of that fence I'll fall on. But yeah, I'm excited. I'll give anything a go, and maybe I'll find that I like this style of fantasy. The last book is probably the one I am most scared of. Again, sci-fi. Sci-fi intimidates me like no other genre. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I just never pick it up. I never gravitate towards it, and it just spooks me. But the final book that Alex picked for me is Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Like, the cover of this even kind of scares me. Like, this looks like sci-fi, like alien sci-fi. I'm not into aliens. I don't know if this is an alien book, but I'm not into aliens. But we'll have to wait and see. I haven't really read much about the plot, to be honest with you. But, oh, it says, a race for survival among the stars, humanity's lost survivors escaped Earth's ruins to find a new home. But when they find it, can their desperation overcome its dangers? Who will inherit this new Earth? And then a bunch of other stuff. Again, where the Martian was kind of learning how to sustain yourself on a different planet, I think, but whereas he was just one man, this seems like it might have a similar, at least starting plotline of humanity finding a new planet and learning to kind of survive, I guess. I don't know, I could be completely wrong, but that's kind of what I'm getting from this. Again, Alex gave it a 4-star back in 2018, so we'll have to see how that goes. This is definitely probably the one I'm going to leave till last. It's either going to be one I'm going to have to get out of the way first or leave till last, because it's the one I'm least sure about, and we'll have to see how that goes. But anyway, those are the 5 books. They are The Blade Itself, Red Sister, The Martian, The Name of the Wind, and Children of Time. So we have like 3 fantasy, 2 sci-fi, none of which I probably would have picked up on my own except for The Blade Itself and maybe The Name of the Wind in like 10 years time. But yeah, I am definitely excited to see how this goes. I think it'll be a fun experiment to force me to read something else for once in my life, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm quietly confident. I'm not going to tell Alex my opinions on any of the books as I read them. I will be keeping my mouth zipped, and hopefully, Alex, if you're watching, come join me. I need you sitting next to me to talk about the books that I read, which I think will be fun. But either way, I will be updating you on all these books at some point when I get through them all. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you're excited about this little boyfriend picks my TBR experiment that I've got going on. So thank you, and I will see you next time.